Hey, fellow Muppet fans, and welcome to Movin' Right Along, a Muppet movie podcast brought to you by toughpigs.com. This is the podcast where we watch The Muppets Take Manhattan 2 minutes at a time and talk about it a lot. I'm your host, Ryan Rowe.
I'm your other host, Anthony Strand.
And this week we have a very special return guest. It's always a delight to talk to her. Guest, please tell us who you are.
Hello, I'm Tansy Rayner Roberts.
Yes, and Tansy is a writer and podcast co-host, among other things.
Yeah,
And,
I am.
Thank you for coming back and joining us again.
Oh, I always love talking about Muppets.
So do we. That's why we're here. And we are here specifically to talk about minutes 49 and 50 of The Muppets Take Manhattan, in which Kermit and Piggy have a confrontation in Central Park, and Gregory Hines gets involved. As these minutes begin, picking up from last week, Piggy is thanking the two women in the park who are helping her pick up all her stuff. And these two women are still not Kathy Mullen and Karen Prell, despite what IMDb says. Just want to make sure everybody remembers that. Piggy hears Kermit calling her, and she makes this high-pitched noise, which I realize Piggy makes these noises a lot in this movie. The sort of like the variations on the ooh sound.
It's a representation of her inner thoughts, I think. It's one of those, you can tell what she's thinking through her various, is it inappropriate to use the word squeals?
Oh.
I don't know. Maybe that's culturally insensitive things that.
Yeah,
maybe. I think it's fine.
That fits, and that maybe there's something to that. Maybe it's just like instinctive for her as a pig.
Yeah, but they're always revealing. She makes very revealing noises.
Yeah, she's just kind of verbalizing what's on her mind. So, so I guess at this point, Piggy knows she's been caught because Kermit thought that she had left town, and now he has seen her. Not only has he spotted her in Central Park, he has spotted her like roller skating around, screaming and tackling a mugger. So there's nothing inconspicuous.
That is pretty standard Piggy behavior.
Right. Well, yeah, not unexpected for Piggy, perhaps, for Kermit to see, but in the middle of the city that she's supposed to not be in.
Oh, yeah. Although I do like that the first thing Kermit says to her is, "Piggy, are you okay?"
Oh, yeah.
It's not Piggy, why are you here? It's not Piggy, why did you lie to me? Right? He checks on her well-being first.
Yes, that's nice. Yeah.
He's a sweet guy.
He is. And then he asks her what she's doing there, and she says, sightseeing. And then I never notice what she does when she says that, but she sort of starts glancing around, like, as if she's sightseeing. Like, her sightseeing just consists of looking around at random trees in Central Park. So she's retrospectively doing her research. Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
She doesn't get caught out.
Some good improv there on Piggy's part. So Kermit says she's supposed to be out of town, and then Jenny says, yeah. And Piggy is not happy at Jenny interjecting herself into this, and honestly, I can't blame her, because this really has nothing to do with Jenny. So,
well, and also, like, think of every interaction she's ever had with Jenny. Like, I don't think they've ever spoken, right? It's just like Kermit appeared to be flirting with her at the counter.
Yeah.
She is visibly hugging Kermit while Piggy is spying on them. Like, that's all she knows about Jenny, is that, like, she thinks Jenny is a woman who's moving in on her man, right?
Right. Yeah. As far as she knows, Jenny is just a woman who's a little too close to Kermit.
Yeah.
And Jenny continues to be of the opinion that she is a character in this movie, of course, not realizing how unimportant she is in the grand scheme of things. Which is mean, and I am very fond of Jenny in this movie, but it's that whole thing of like, oh, sweetie, you're a human. You need to go stand over there. You don't get the big narrative arcs.
Well, there's...
It's not even the 90s, so you don't get a song. Just your only job here is to, help the important characters through their story.
Yeah, no, you're not wrong at all. It's a testament to Juliana Donald's performance, I think, how fond of her I am anyway.
Oh, yeah. She's very likable.
Because you're right. She really is just like someone to make Kermit a costume.
Yeah.
She's really just there.
And at this point,
it's a thankless role.
Right. And at this point, she just served the purpose of cheering Kermit up after his Sardi's stunt did not go well. So yeah, now like she has helped Kermit transition into this next scene where he encounters Piggy. So now she can exit for the time being. And so she does.
Yeah.
Uh,
And she says, "I'll see you back at Pete's," and takes out.
yeah. She just jogs out of the frame, and that's it. Yeah. Because Piggy says she does not want to discuss this in present company. So Jenny gets the message. She does also say, though, she's glad Piggy's not hurt, which that's nice,
Yeah. She is genuinely nice. Yeah. She is a good friend, even to people she's barely met.
Right. She's good people. So Piggy says to Kermit, well, vous are certainly looking different now. No gold chains, no shirt cut to the navel, no toupe. Quelle différence. And I had never put that together before. That's the name of the perfume that she was selling at the department store. Somehow I had never connected those dots.
Are you serious?
I am serious.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, because she, like, as we established earlier in this podcast, the name of the perfume means what a difference in French. Yeah. So what she's saying is like, what a difference in your appearance. But yeah, I love that she still has Quelle différence on the brain.
Exactly.
She's getting a bit of product placement in there, which, right. Is canny marketing on Piggy's part. She's not, missing out on any opportunities, and perhaps adds to the meta nature of this very meta movie.
Yeah. So, although as we talked about, they never sold that perfume under that name, and it feels like a real missed opportunity.
Absolutely. I mean, I don't know how much people would choose to buy perfume based on the Muppets. I'm not saying I wouldn't. I mean, I've never bought perfume in my life, but I'm pretty sure if it was Muppet based, it's like when they finally figured out to market, they should be marketing cosmetics based around the Wonder Woman brand. And they're like, it never occurred to us that, we couldn't sell as many action figures to women, but maybe we can sell other things tied in with superheroes. It's that whole thing, Muppet product.
Well, and now everything is branded. Like any item that can have a character or a logo on it has a character or a logo on it. So
right, like how Dole bananas have Pixar characters on them.
Yeah, and that though, I remember there was a study, like I don't know how long ago now, 20 years ago, where they did some kind of study and found that kids were more likely to choose a healthy snack over a junk snack if it had a picture of a familiar character on it. So
it would be kind of cool. I mean, you see, I notice a lot of kids branding. It would be really cool if they made the most of all this, intellectual property that Disney now owns, and look at some serious retro Muppet branding. I mean, imagine if people could buy kids these like old school Muppet lunchboxes. I think it's something that parents who grew up with the Muppets would absolutely buy that for their kids.
I am curious to see if the Muppet Show on Disney Plus will lead to a new generation of kids becoming Muppet fans. I'm not confident that it'll happen, but I hope so. I'm excited to see if it does.
Yeah, when Disney sees the numbers and if the numbers are good, I hope they have some kind of plan just ready to go to start pushing more Muppet merchandise and like original YouTube videos and stuff just to get them out there.
It would be interesting because the kids in my life are very pro Muppet, like of various generations, and they loved the Muppet movies. They really liked the Muppets Tonight. They didn't like the most recent Muppet show where I think Kermit's voice has just got to the point where it's just so not Kermit, and when the 10-year-old is pointing that out, then it's hard to come back from that. But it would be really nice to see something hit. But I think they're appreciating the older material because that's one of the things about streaming that happens, isn't it? It brings this older material accessible and suddenly it becomes massively popular again.
Hope so.
Every teenager now is obsessed with Friends. It's weird.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying it's okay, but it's a thing that's happening.
No, I mean, that's kind of the hope too. Like I think for us like aging pop culture nerds, the easy thing is to be like, kids don't have an appreciation for the classics anymore. They don't want to watch old movies. They don't want to watch any, but yeah, if it's made available to them, there are a lot of kids, I think, who will at least check it out and see if they like it or not. And I really hope that's what happens with the Muppet Show on Disney Plus.
And it's interesting because I know that, is it Apple have done something similar with Fraggle Rock where they're creating a new Fraggle Rock, but they've got the old stuff available. And that's generally what streaming things are doing. They've got the old stuff there and the new stuff. And when people get run out of the new stuff, they dig back into the old stuff. And,
I haven't heard anything about that, but I'd love to know how the classic Fraggle Rock series is doing on Apple TV Plus.
And it's especially strange because it's, if not the only like catalog show on Apple TV Plus. It's one of the very few.
I think it is the only one. When it was announced that it was going to be added, it was the only catalog title at that time.
Yeah, and it's mostly the new stuff. So it's really interesting to me. And whatever. I think everyone should watch Fraggle Rock every day over breakfast. Don't get me wrong. But it's interesting to me that of all shows is the one that they're just like, hey, we got Fraggle Rock.
I mean, it's a really good show.
Well, they've done something similar with Snoopy. They've got a new Snoopy show that's actually really good.
Yeah, it is. It's fun.
For instance, my kid was able to watch the the Great Pumpkin Charlie Brown because they put that on Apple TV. Yeah, we don't have the tradition of watching those specials in Australia in the way that you guys do in America. So we hear about it secondhand. It's such a huge American pop culture thing to talk about those, Peanuts TV specials. Yeah. I mean, my youngest child was in a play based on the Charlie Brown Christmas special, the famous one. We've never seen it. We've never had any access to it in Australia. Wow. It's not readily available. Yeah, it's just not something we've particularly come across.
Huh.
Yeah.
So it's really interesting, I think, getting this old stuff and making it more globally available as well, because not everything makes it to every country the first time around.
Yeah, I'm glad to hear that too, because there was some controversy here when it was announced that Apple TV would be the only place to watch. I think it was the Great Pumpkin special. People were like, wait, this has been on TV, on network TV broadcast every year for, 40, however many years. And now I can't see it unless I have a subscription to Apple TV Plus.
Years,
How many years?
Yeah. You can
56 years.
56 years. Yeah. So at least it makes it available to some other viewers who maybe couldn't.
It's interesting, isn't it? That double bind, because on the one hand, it creates accessibility in that it's there, but it sometimes takes away accessibility. It's like the same thing with the Sesame Street moving to HBO, isn't it? It's like, well, that's a pretty big blow that it's not as widely available necessarily with the first viewings. But on the other hand, at least it's still being made.
Right. That's the thing.
And I understand people are annoyed that the brand new episodes of Sesame Street are no longer on PBS, but I really don't think kids notice that they're watching reruns when they turn on PBS broadcast TV.
Look, my son is almost 3. And we can watch a Sesame Street from 1981 or from 2018, and it's the same to him.
Yeah, and he probably doesn't mind watching either of those twice.
Right, exactly. They're just.
It's like with my kids, and about a bit of Australian pop culture. With my kids were very young when Greg left the Wiggles, which was a big deal. Ooh. It was the first, the first change to the Wiggles before all the recasts and things like that. And it was genuine. Like we're talking about 2 and 3 year olds, and like, how are we going to break it to these kids that Greg is leaving the Wiggles? Turns out we didn't have to, because he technically never left the Wiggles, because we had it all on DVD, and the kids never were interested in the more recent episodes. They just watched the old ones over and over. So yeah.
Well, and then bringing this back to the Muppets, this is another reason I hope they will eventually add some more specials to Disney Plus, like the Muppets at Disney World, and maybe I haven't heard if they have any plans for the Valentine's show pilot and the Sex and Violence pilot, which would be great to see, while people are discovering the Muppet Show.
About some of those that I remember watching on VHS in the 80s, like, the Hey Cinderella and those sorts of probably straight to video specials. I don't know how they were made originally. They probably were on TV. But,
those were TV specials. I guess. Anthony, do you know if Disney owns the fairy tale specials? I guess they do.
Disney does own them. Yeah. All that stuff. Musicians of Bremen.
So where are they?
It's just about making it available. Because, I remember really liking those. And, once all the VHSs kind of disappeared, a lot of that stuff, it disappeared too.
None of that stuff ever came out on DVD.
That's true.
Yeah.
Wow.
And actually we had a crisis one because, okay, this is a little bit of a tangent, but every time we watch the Muppet Frog Prince, we make popovers. And then when Tamanilla Grindelwald says, "Have a popover, Froggy," we all eat a popover. That's just like a thing we do in my family.
Wait, because she says that line like 4 times. Do you pause every time and eat a popover, and then the next time she says it, do you eat another popover?
No, usually just the first time we start eating popover. But then our tape broke. The VCR ate our tape. No. So we didn't know what we were going to do, but a Muppet fan friend, and I should actually give him credit. It was Justin Faulkner. Thanks, Justin.
Nice.
Sent me a digital copy that day, so we were able to watch the Frog Prince after all. Yeah.
That's great.
But still, like, it would have been even more convenient if it was on Disney Plus.
Yes.
Yes.
Well, this is also not on Disney Plus, The Muppets Take Manhattan. But getting back to
Correct.
The Muppets Take Manhattan, Piggy claims to Kermit that she learned French and got a job interpreting at the UN. I don't think Kermit believes her. He shouldn't believe her. As we've talked about in past seasons of this show, I guess, Piggy always has peppered her speech with little bits and pieces of French, but like, there's never been any indication that she's fluent. So
she knows the same amount of French that she always has,
right,
which is variable.
Yeah, and I mean, just now she's been able to say "vous," "toup," and "quelle différence." So. Yeah, there's no indication that she's learned very much more French.
Although I would like to see a movie about Piggy trying to bluff her way through a job interpreting at the UN.
Oh, that would be very cool.
Maybe not a whole movie, but a sketch.
Yeah.
You know, like
well, maybe like a this might be a terrible idea, but like a Piggy starring in just like a rom-com where she's a young pig trying to make it in New York City, and she's working at the UN.
I was just thinking. You know how it's quite a popular game to take a famous movie and recast it with Muppets, and it's really fun. I was just thinking how well Funny Face would work with Miss Piggy playing the Audrey Hepburn part and Kermit the Frog playing Fred Astaire and all the running around Paris, which is hard because there's actually two female parts in that movie and they'd both have to be played by Miss Piggy.
I was going to say she might be better cast as the editor.
Because then, who else?
She would, but then like
Mildred?
The romance would go in very different directions.
They could cast
she would be pink. I mean, can you imagine some of those song and dance numbers? But also, I want to see Piggy doing the modeling shots. So yeah, it's a difficult one.
Yeah, so they could just. Although I will say, anytime. It would be an improvement because Kermit and Piggy are the same age, so that would be an improvement over the original Funny Face.
Yeah, what was that age difference?
Maybe it's like close to 30 years.
It is,
And Audrey Hepburn, yeah.
That is awkward. Maybe you would do it in that Miss Piggy is her own twin sister, and one of them is a cranky bohemian bookseller, and the other one is a glamorous magazine editor. See, it's writing itself.
Well, she played a quadruple role in Muppets Wizard of Oz, so why not?
Exactly. When in doubt, let Miss Piggy have all the female parts. Right. And that sounds to me like, have you actually watched Wizard of Oz? Because I seem to remember telling you
no,
go back and rewatch it last time.
No, I certainly haven't rewatched it. I don't think Ryan has either.
Since then.
I think we're waiting till we cover it on the podcast.
Yeah.
Or waiting for it to come out on Disney Plus.
Oh yeah, that's another one that's not there. Yeah.
So good. Anyway.
Yeah. So anyway, at the 35-second mark of this clip, there's this figure who is visible way in the background. He's jogging toward Kermit and Piggy, and then about 20 seconds later, around 54 seconds, he arrives where they are standing. This is the guy that Piggy borrowed her roller skates from, and he's played by Gregory Hines. Of course, now the question is, who is Gregory Hines?
Well, Ryan, Gregory Hines was an actor and most famous for his tap dancing work. But also actor. He was in a bunch of movies in the 80s. Although I was thinking about it, I think of myself as being a fan of Gregory Hines' work. I mostly know him from this movie.
Yeah.
But it was this was always one of my favorite parts as a kid. So I always had tremendous fondness for him, anytime I would see him.
Did you go out and seek his other work because you saw him in this? Like, it's Gregory Hines, who I know from the Muppet movie.
Right, like that's what I'm saying, is I haven't ever seeked out his other work, and I should.
Yeah, I'd like to
I've seen him in Mel Brooks' History of the World Part 1, of course. Where he's one of the main characters in the main part of that. But he was in the Cotton Club, the Francis Ford Coppola movie. He was in what's the one with him and Billy Crystal?
Billy Crystal. I don't know. I didn't write that one down.
Running Scared, I guess.
Oh, okay,
it's like a buddy cop movie with him and Billy
that was
Crystal.
one of his earlier ones.
Right. So in the 80s, he was a star of a bunch of movies.
Oh yeah, he was around.
But for whatever reason, they aren't movies that I personally have caught up with. So maybe I should.
Same here.
He's a delight in this.
Yeah, I should watch more of those too.
I went to look up his list of movies today because I'm like, I know him from stuff, right? And I also came to the conclusion I largely know him from this. I also remember he did do a stint on Will and Grace.
Yeah, I think a lot of our
Will's
listeners might
boss
know
or
him
something.
like equally well for those episodes of Will and Grace where he played Will's boss.
And at the time, it was a thing that Gregory Hines was Will's boss. And,
he was
that's
a
who he
big
was.
guest
So I
star.
knew he was famous, but in my head, I'm pretty sure I've only seen him like effectively appearing as himself or appearing as a guest star because he's famous,
right?
And not in any of the things that he's famous for.
Sure, yeah. Although I'm looking here now on his IMDb, he's in Waiting to Exhale. He's in The Preacher's Wife.
Yeah.
So a bunch like two different Whitney Houston movies in the mid '90s, which are cool. Great. You know, obviously, R.I.P. Whitney, R.I.P. Gregory. Like I'm sure they're both delightful in both of those things.
I've seen The Preacher's Wife. That's a good one.
I just want to say something about how that shot is framed with him running towards the camera, because I was thinking at the time, I was paying so much attention to the background people and the people walking around, because this whole thing being set in Central Park for a really long time, my entire knowledge of Central Park as a place was based on the Muppet movie. And whenever I see other things set in Central Park or, read books set there, I guess I would come back to Muppets Take Manhattan as my reference point. And I was just looking at all the joggers and the people in the background, and I was already doing that when he started kind of arrowing towards. It was such an unsettling moment.
It was like he was coming towards you.
The direct line, because it makes you realize how much background artists don't normally do that. They're kind of just in the background, and
right. You might think that he's just an extra jogging by, and then he starts coming right toward the camera.
Yeah, it was actually a really good kind of introduction for him, especially because it is such a comically long run.
Right. Yeah, they also had to time it just right, where he appears while Kermit and Piggy are having their argument, and then he has to get there right when they are, when they hit a certain point.
How many times did he have to do that run? I kind of want to know that.
Yeah.
He looks like he's been exercising a lot.
Yeah. Well, and good thing he was in good shape from being a tap dancer too.
Right.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I was also going to mention he was probably best known for being a tap dancer. Maybe his Wikipedia article talks about he had an innovative improvisational style, and he was on the board of directors of Manhattan Tap. He was a member of the Jazz Tap Ensemble and a member of the American Tap Dance Foundation. And he also won a Tony for a musical called Jelly's Last Jam. I don't really know anything about that show, but it has a fun title. He won an Emmy for the animated kids show Little Bill. And according to Muppet Wiki, he was on Sesame Street a few times, including a 1992 episode where he played a magician called Gregory the Great. So that sounds fun too.
See, I might also know him from Sesame Street now you come to mention it.
Yeah, there are a couple of segments that were sort of, those insert segments that were recycled over the years where he and his brother, one of them, they're demonstrating near and far, and there are a couple others like that. So you may have seen those.
I remember that one.
Yeah.
But I love it when you hear about actors who tap, especially these days. I mean, obviously this isn't these days. We're talking about somebody with a long career going quite far back, but it's cool when you hear about actors like promoting things like tap dancing. It's like when you hear about somebody famous and then they're finally in a production where they actually get to show off their dancing skills. It's like, oh, you learned that at acting school, didn't you? You've just been waiting to crack out it's like they suddenly have fencing skills. It's like, you've been waiting 15 years to show everybody you can do that.
Yeah, and actually, now that I think about it, unfortunately, when he sort of emerged in Hollywood, like in the late 70s, early 80s, that's a time when they had sort of stopped making movie musicals for the most part, which is unfortunate for a tap dancer.
Right. Although speaking of hidden talent, a previous Muppet movie cameo guest star, Steve Martin, had a series of TV specials that he starred in, and one of those, it's called Steve Martin's Best Show Ever. He does a tap duet with Gregory Hines.
Oh, wow.
And you can just Google Steve Martin, Gregory Hines. They do Fit as a Fiddle from Singing in the Rain. And obviously Gregory Hines is the better tap dancer of the two, but Steve Martin does a pretty good job keeping up with them. So I think any Muppet fan would enjoy it. I mean, if you like those two guys in their Muppet movies, if nothing else, it's going to be entertaining.
What year was that from?
That's 81.
Okay. Best Show Ever just makes it sound like something from the early 2000s.
Yeah, but that's Steve. He was ahead of his time.
I guess he was. Yeah. That's the way people talk now. So here Gregory Hines is just this guy who wants his skates back. Kermit and Piggy continue arguing, and he says that he's going to unlace them while they fight. It's no trouble. He leans over. But then as they go back and forth, he quickly inserts himself into the argument. This is such a funny scene. I think it's interesting, Anthony, that you said you thought this was funny when you were a kid, because I feel like this is sort of like maybe comparable to the John Cleese scene in The Great Muppet Caper or something like that, where it's on a level that kids might not get the comedy.
It's so much broader, though. I mean, if there's one thing kids love, it's repeating the same phrase, right?
Oh yeah,
and
that's true.
So many of the jokes in this are like Kermit was like, "I have to sell the show," and Gregory Hines says he's got to sell the show.
Right.
What show? You know, like I thought that was hilarious as a kid.
It is the whole joke where he just gets so quickly invested in their lives and he keeps switching sides. Like,
yes, exactly.
He's mostly on Piggy's side, clearly. But then, like, he's also on Kermit's side of the show, but he doesn't know what show. So, yeah, I think it's something that kids absolutely would get that humor. Because it is done so broadly. It's and particularly like when because you gave Jenny the Huggies.
Yeah, he's shocked by that.
No, absolutely. It's very sweet, but just that thing where he just wants to take the skates back, but he just gets so invested in their lives instantly, and it's like, I know it's that joke of the character who becomes the instant best friend and hasn't,
Yeah, and all this as somebody who does he doesn't know these people at all. He just got
there. Absolutely. It reminds me of the Miranda, the British sitcom, where there's a running gag of the random customer who gets pulled into their emotional drama lives, even though they don't know his name or anything about him. He just gets so sucked in. It's that same thing. It's funny on a very character building level, and it's so quick.
Yeah. Miranda, I think that's the show that the current American sitcom Call Me Kat was based on.
Correct.
Interesting. I didn't know they'd done an American version.
Yeah, it just started.
It just premiered, and it stars Mayim Bialik from The Big Bang Theory in the Miranda.
Oh, no, I did think I did hear about that.
Yeah, I don't know if that character is present in Call Me Kat, but that would be interesting to compare.
One of the things about Miranda is that it is a callback show, in that it's a show based on the really old, cheesy sitcoms. It has all those really old-fashioned tropes while being a modern show. So it's going to be interesting, to see how an American one adapts to that.
Yeah. I've seen a little bit of Call Me Kat so far. My wife, Stacy, who has been watching it, my favorite thing that I've seen so far is that every episode appears to end with all of the characters kind of like jumping out from behind the scenery and like dancing around and waving at the camera.
Yes,
as the credits
that's
roll.
A Miranda thing. They always wave goodbye at the end and have a little dance, and it feels like a live show in that sense.
Yeah, that part I really like. But so Kermit is he says they got to sell the show. Gregory Hines, he's got to sell the show. What show? And then the Huggies. Gregory Hines is just so stunned that Kermit gave Piggy the Huggies.
Outraged.
And then he goes to comfort Piggy, which is interesting because I
think a hug.
Yeah, that could be construed as him giving Piggy the Huggies.
Yeah, he gives Piggy the Huggies, but Kermit does this sheesh face in response to that.
Yeah.
Which is one of Jim Henson's best little bits of puppet acting in this, I think.
It is. I noticed that a couple of times because I was actually wondering about Kermit's face, which are things I don't often wonder about because obviously they're just people and I forget that they are, Muppets.
Right.
But his eyes appear to be almost cross-eyed as his face scrumples. I'm just like, and it's interesting because then when he turns and he's behaving normally, his face is turned away so you can't see his eyes. So I'm like, is that like a different, like, is there a slightly cross-eyed version of Kermit and a not cross-eyed version of Kermit? Or are these questions we shouldn't ask?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm trying, I'm sort of holding up my hand now, trying to imagine how Jim Henson would move his hand to get that effect. I guess, he does it
really a couple
good.
Of times in this scene, and it's very good.
Yeah, he was really good at getting a lot of expression out of Kermit.
Yeah, it's the Jim stare from The Office, basically. Like it's the equivalent. The fact that he's looking at the camera.
Yeah, it's in that neighborhood for sure. Does he actually look at the camera here? He might.
I'm pretty sure, except that he looks slightly cross-eyed. But yeah. He certainly turns to face the camera.
That's funny.
And then when he's addressing Piggy, he's turning to the side. Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, this includes the classic lines from Piggy, "I spy because I care."
Right. So yeah, Kermit tries to explain that he and Jenny were hugging because they're friends, and friends, by the way, do not spy. That's when Gregory Hines kind of like drops Piggy and stuff. So wait, I forgot about that. And then Piggy says, "Yeah, I've spied because I care." Kermit yells, "Well, I care too." Piggy yells, "Well, why didn't you say so?" That's where this clip cuts off. But yeah, just so much fun to see Kermit and Piggy yelling at each other. I'm on the record as I always love it when Kermit flies off the handle. So this is one of the great angry Kermit scenes.
And it's also a great, like, very equal declaring of feelings kind of scene. You know, they are at a similar ramped up level of outrage. It's not just one of them telling off the other. Obviously, Kermit is slightly more in the moral right, as is always the case, but that doesn't affect Piggy's level of outrage. And it is a scene it's a very equal scene. Like, they're equally invested in whatever's going on here.
Yeah, and
with Gregory Hines.
Right. Yeah, all three of them are equally invested and equally emotional about the whole thing. So I have a couple other things. Several years ago, I uploaded an excerpt of this scene to YouTube when I needed to use it in a Tough Pigs article. And I know a few years ago, a lot of YouTube videos that are like Muppets got the comments removed because of their privacy guidelines for things that are supposed to be for kids. But this video that I uploaded still has comments, and it's always fun. It's been up for several years. It's been fun to see the comments roll in as people react to this scene, because a lot of people watch this and they do get really into this argument. Most people in the comments are on Kermit's side, which I can understand that.
I mean, it's fair.
There are a few people who identify with Piggy. There are a handful of comments in all caps, like, "Kermit would never cheat on Piggy." So, people are very emotionally invested in this. There are also a handful of people who have no idea who Gregory Hines is. There's some people asking if he's Richard Pryor, if he's Jesse L. Martin, or if he's Billy Ocean, which he's not any of those people.
Though Jesse L. Martin can tap dance. But that's entirely irrelevant. But I think it's worth commenting. It was one of the actors I was thinking of when I was thinking of actors tap dancing.
Right. Yeah.
But it's that sad sort of thing, isn't it? Of things that date about films, nothing really dates harder than a celebrity cameo. Some are evergreen. The people are still famous 20 years or 30 years later, and quite a few have fallen away from immediate recognition. I mean, often when I was watching a lot of this stuff, they'd already fallen away, or as an Australian, had never passed my radar in the first place. So, and I know as kids, you often see people who are clearly supposed to be celebrities, but you don't have the context because
you just have no idea.
Watched this much stuff. And of course, that comes back to that discussion of what it's going to be like rewatching the old Muppet Show, especially for new generation finding it, is the fact of the celebrity being a celebrity is going to be a fairly minor aspect in comparison to what it was when it first released.
Mm-hmm.
Because in some cases it'd be like, oh, look at this person. I want to say 40 years ago. Don't tell me if it's more than 40 years ago. Look at this celebrity that you know. I have heard that one of the most popularly watched Muppet Show episodes is Rita Moreno, because she's had a big resurgence. Thanks to One Day at a Time and that sort of thing. So people who are still famous, people go back to see them when they're young.
That's cool.
But there's going to be this sea of celebrities that kids today do not know who they are.
Right. I mean, I could start naming some. I don't want to offend any of our listeners who might be fans of theirs, but some of these singers who were who kind of peaked in the 70s or
absolutely. I mean, luckily for the kids today, they have Wikipedia. One of the things I most constantly say to my children is telling them how hard it was to, say, be a comics fan in the 90s when you didn't have Wikipedia and couldn't instantly look up, things that you'd missed. Yeah, backstory, celebrity details, IMDb, also very important. So, it will be interesting. But because the Muppet movies had these, short celebrity cameos, and you knew it was a famous person, but you didn't necessarily know why they were famous.
Right. I think this is a good example And I guess most of the ones in this movie, maybe Liza Minnelli would be a slight exception, but they still work. They're still funny. You don't have to know who they are. Yeah, I mean, even Liza Minnelli, you just understand that she's a famous person whose picture is supposed to be on the wall.
She's the person whose picture it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't know who she was when I was a kid.
A few of the cameos in the 2011 movie and Muppets Most Wanted are, I think, so dependent on you seeing a famous person and laughing or reacting because it is that famous person, where they're not actually doing anything funny.
Yeah, that's true. It makes you wonder how that would age, because definitely you need that context of who they are, so it doesn't matter. They could be an imaginary celebrity. They don't have to be somebody who you recognize.
Yeah.
Because as I said, kids don't always recognize the people that are like celebrity cameos are definitely for the parents and not for the kids.
Right.
Unless it's, Elmo, I guess, or somebody who's specifically from kids' point of reference.
Right. Well, and actually, in fact, the only other thing I wanted to mention is in the March 7th, 1983 draft of the screenplay, there's actually not a cameo guest star in the scene. It's just Kermit and Piggy arguing without the guy coming to get his roller skates and getting involved. So, it's still funny, but it just having this character, and specifically being played by Gregory Hines here, doing such a great job, just really brings it to such a higher level.
It's so interesting to think about the actual scripting process, isn't it? So they've got to write a funny movie to start with, and they've got to have all these potential openings where they can add people when they hear from Gregory Hines' people or whoever that they can put him in, and then they've got to figure out where to put them in. And maybe they just decided to have it's like, well, we can explain the skates thing or whatever.
Yeah, which means they added a cameo in the scene pretty late in the process. Yeah. So, it's all very interesting.
I always find that, especially with watching serial TV shows and things like that, I always find that process really fascinating of like, well, what if, that actor clearly wasn't available for this season? At what point did they know that? How many scripts did they have to throw out?
Yeah.
As a mostly novel writer, I don't have to worry about this sort of thing.
Oh, yeah.
But I do feel for script writing people who have to constantly, throw out a version because one actor isn't available and twist around. I guess that's where a lot of the exciting innovation comes, is writing things very quickly because of an emergency situation.
Yeah, well, and then it's like, do you create a new character and have them show up? Maybe like, oh, that other character sent me. He couldn't make it, but I'm here to deliver this exposition or whatever.
Yeah. We've just finished a big rewatch of The West Wing, and one of the things that's really notable is the way that characters just vanish and are never mentioned again. Oh. So, also, there's a Big Bird cameo. Speaking of the, random cameos.
I've never actually watched The West Wing, but I'm aware of that one.
The episode with Big
Where,
Bird.
As far as I know, they just they acknowledge that Sesame Street is a TV show, but they don't acknowledge that they're puppets, right? It's just as if Big Bird is a star of a show.
Well, because there is a storyline specifically, I think, about funding for. It's about funding for public television, and so they refer to Sesame Street, or they refer to it as a thing, and then Big Bird just randomly walks into the West Wing at some point, and is sitting down just next to Alice and Janney, and there's no conversation. He's just kind of there.
Well, it's so some of our listeners will probably write in, so I'll say it. It's because Stockard Channing is going to go on Sesame Street. Because
that's right.
There's a real life tradition of first ladies appearing on Sesame Street.
Until recently.
That's right.
Who knows? It may come back again.
Well, our current first lady, I would certainly hope will be on Sesame Street. But
as the person, as the person who most recently watched it, it's embarrassing I'd forgotten that. But you're absolutely right. It was all about her going on. But it was but it was very cool to see that weird juxtaposition, and that's an example of a celebrity cameo, which is clearly obviously more from the parents than any kids sitting up to watch West Wing. But
Well, and at this point, with Sesame Street having been on for 50 plus years, a Big Bird cameo is as much for the adults as for the kids.
Very much so. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. All right. So, any final thoughts about these 2 minutes? Tansy, starting with you.
I did just want to take a moment. You've probably discussed this already, but I did want to take a moment to talk about Miss Piggy's hair, which is this extraordinary perm she has in this film. It's just so on point for the era, and it's just very her, but also very much of the Hollywood hair in this era. Like this is very, so many, and also it's career woman hair. It's like, 9 to 5 and those sort of all those women's movies or romantic comedies. She's got the suit and she's got the career woman perm, and it looks fierce, but also it's like a lot of other things in this film. It is a time capsule of a very specific era.
Yeah, in a lot of ways, this is like a timeless version of New York, but then there are several details here and there that sort of tell you exactly when this was made.
Yeah. I was also kind of wondering, and I don't know if this is something but I was wondering about all those background extras or background people you see, the people jogging and walking their dogs and stuff in the background. I always wonder this with Muppets, particularly with Muppet things where they're filming in the city. Are all the background people actually extras, or were they just like, is this done as, guerrilla filming with just random people in the shot? Or would they all be staged extras?
Yeah, I don't know for sure. I would imagine they would do as much as they could, or as much as they were allowed to by the city to shut down, everything that would be in sight of the cameras, in the frame. Actually, one time, what was that show? Okay, so there were two shows like in the mid 2000s that were sort of Sex and the City ripoffs. One was called Kashmir Mafia, and one was called Lipstick Jungle. It was one of those two shows was filming near where I was working at the time. I was on my lunch break, and I was trying to cross the street by Madison Square Park, and they were shooting an episode of this TV show, and they were not letting people walk through the frame. Like, they weren't letting people walk through Madison Square Park because they were filming a scene. So they would make everybody stop, and then they would film for like 5 minutes. And while they were filming, they would have extras walk through the scene. So there were extras walking through Madison Square Park, fake New Yorkers. And then as soon as they were done, they would call cut, and then they would let the real New Yorkers resume walking through the background, which was just like a fun reminder of how fake show business is.
Yeah. No, and I know that extras happen generally. I was wondering with this particular, and I think it was because all those distance shots, for a while, all you could see was joggers in the background, and I was like, oh, is that like an actual jogging path? Why are they just joggers going in that direction from that direction? And then Gregory Hines started coming towards us. But then after that, there's like a bunch of people walking dogs and all sorts of things, and it was just.
Yeah, actually,
you think with Muppets, I guess they need to control even more than usual. They'd want to control the environment because they've got all that extra stuff to manage.
It's technically very complicated. Yeah, I actually had a note that I'm glad you brought this up. So when I interviewed David Mish, he's credited as like a script consultant. He worked on the final draft with Frank Oz of this movie. I interviewed him for the Tough Pigs website a few years ago. One thing he said was, he said, one of my fondest memories of the shoot was watching a Kermit and Piggy scene in Central Park. People gathered as Jim and Frank performed and goofed around between takes, always in character. I looked at the crowd and noticed that their eyes were glued to the puppets, ignoring the two very large, totally visible men beneath them. Such was the charisma of Jim and Frank. Sorry, I mean Kermit and Piggy. So that makes it seem like maybe they had, sort of the crowd of onlookers were sort of cordoned off on the side so they could watch the filming happening without actually being in the scene.
Yeah. It is interesting how easily that happens, the just looking at the puppets and not the puppeteers.
Oh, yeah.
My teenager and I went to a performance of Avenue Q a couple of years ago here in Hobart. And that's where, they're not hiding the fact that they have the puppeteer who was there, who's also performing the character, but you just end up not looking at them. You kind of absorb their presence, but you just spend all your time just looking at. And it's interesting, and I wonder how many of us actually were basically trained to do this by the Muppets anyway. Like, we've been trained into thinking of the Muppets as people.
Yeah,
because they are
think
people.
so. And yeah, like Jim Henson would go on talk shows with Kermit on his arm, and he wasn't a ventriloquist. It was just a guy with a puppet talking.
Yeah, but you see the character so much, even if you can see how it's being done in front of you. It is very interesting.
Yeah. So Anthony, any final thoughts on this clip?
No, I covered all my notes.
All right. So with that, we can wrap things up for this week. Make sure you check out toughpigs.com, listeners, on the internet, Facebook, Twitter, and all of those places. Our logo is by Morgan Davey. Our theme music is by Stacey Rosen. Thanks to the two of them. And if you would like to tell us your thoughts about these minutes or any future minutes, please feel free to drop by our Facebook page or our Twitter, or email us at movinrightalong@toughpigs.com. Let us know what you're thinking.
We would also welcome recommendations of Gregory Hines movies to watch.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Tell us which ones we should start with. And you can find me on Twitter at @MeRyanRowe. And Tansy, where can people find you and or your work on the internet?
You can find me on Twitter at TansyRR. At TansyRR. You can also find my website, tansyrr.com.
All right, everyone should go check that out.
Yeah.
And also, everyone should please give us a positive review wherever you can do that, and tell your friends and family and next door neighbors and mailmen and grandmothers to listen to the show. And join us again next week for another episode of Moving Right Along. See you later.
Goodbye.
Bye.